Hi everyone, it's Desiree and I am here. I'm gonna pull out color pencils and just enjoy coloring. I haven't done this in a while, but it's coming back. I am a fan and I subscribe to the Altenew Paint to Flower subscription, and this is a great subscription if you have that favorite coloring medium, whether it's alcohol markers or watercolors or colored pencils, to color these images. Now, of course, they're florals, which is something that I do gravitate towards when it comes to my colored pencils, especially for my cards. But I also do enjoy a good coloring book, which you'll probably see that somewhere else popping in to just grab one of those. I'm huge habit of just grabbing a colored an adult coloring book and just having fun coloring, blending and creating the shades, and just also then just having fun, just basic one layer coloring, basically, as I keep saying that. So this one here is the Daffodil, and I'm going to pull out this image here because I think it is really pretty, and I think I'm going to use the sentiment Brighter Days. So my materials that I'm going to use are not only this. I'm going to use the Simon Says Intense Black. I know it says Intense Black, and usually I either use my Fade Out from Ink on 3, or I'll use the Simon Says Fog or Barely Beige to give a look of a no-line coloring. But I do want to have a black outline, and these are very fine. Now, as I said, I know this says intense black. This is a good black, but to me, it's not like a crisp black. But I like the softness that I can get from this. So I'm going to be using that to stamp my image. The paper that I'm going to color on is my absolute favorite. It is my go-to. It's literally just my favorite, and that's the Strathmore Mixed Media. I buy the 6x8 pads, and there's 15 sheets, but I can get 2 cards from each one. This is at a great price point. I get mine from Dick Blick. I'll have that linked down below. And what I love about this mixed media, it comes in toned tan, toned blue, toned gray, and it also, I have found it in black. Yay! And there is a white, but it's always sold out. So I just am absolutely in love with this. There is a colored pencil paper that Strathmore makes in the tone tan and the gray as well, but it's very thin. I mean, it is paper. This here is 184 pounds, 30 GM for those of you that use that. So it is a nice thickness for card making. I don't know if you can, I'm sure you can hear that. But it's got an awesome tooth. I do like a paper. Now you need a tooth or a paper with tooth for colored pencils so that it'll pick up the pigment. But I'm one that I'll grab watercolor, I'll grab my Bristol, that type of tooth, because I do like that look. But this is my absolute favorite paper when I'm using my colored pencils. The colored pencils I'll be using today are by Spectrum Noir, and they are their color blend. This is the essential set, and it's got all the colors that you would need. So if you're interested in the Spectrum Noirs, there are 5 sets of these. When it comes to their sets, they don't duplicate, but you can buy them individually. So they have like a floral set, they have a shading and a tone set, they have like an ocean set. So there's like different themes when it comes to them. This one's going to give you your spectrum, your greens, your blues, some purples, some whites and grays and so forth. So this is a good starter. These are wax based, these pencils. This is what they look like. They don't come with this sharp point. I make that sharp point in there. This is what the barrel looks like. They're a little bit thicker if you're used to Prismacolors. These are closer, possibly even a little thicker than the Prismacolors. And it's closed on one end. The colors shown on this end, but as always, you should swatch. This is a white pencil, and that is definitely looking gray there. So, you know, always test your colors out before you start to color. I would recommend that. Now, me, while I recommend that, I don't do that for all of them. I like to just scratch on a piece of paper, see what color that I get, and then just take it from there. I just like to do the blending. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a voiceover, and I'm going to start with the stamping, and then I'm going to show you all the coloring. So this is going to be long and gabby, I'm sure. But I'm just going to stamp my image, you know, down here, and then probably have my sentiments somewhere up in here. And then once we're done coloring, you will see what the final card looks like. So let's get started. Okay, so here is where we're going to speed up in this section just a little bit. So I've got my stamp set and I want to stamp it. Now, I believe before I went through all of the items that I'll be using. So again, I'm going to be using my Strathmore mixed media, 184 pound paper. I don't want to call it cardstock. I don't, you know, again, when we hear cardstock, we're thinking of paper crafting. We're thinking of cards. This is specifically in the Strathmore 400 series. It is their mixed media series. It is great for their sketch pads that are in toned tanned and toned gray, except this is heavier. So this is a drawing or a sketch, or again, a mixed media where it will take a lot of watercolors, a lot of water. I just love it for my colored pencils because of the tooth that it has and the colors that it comes in with. Don't get me wrong, I love white, but I do much rather like coloring my images on a toned piece of paper. So I like ivory. I loved the tan, the gray, and the blue that this comes in. But I don't look for a stark white. So what I like to use that's comparable to this, that's ivory, is my Bristol. And it can be the vellum or the smooth. To me, there's no difference. Again, I am not an artiste with colored pencils. I just enjoy them. I love working with them. And I'm comfortable with them. They are my medium of choice. So again, I'm using the Spectrum Noir color blend, and I'm using the essential sets. Now again, there are 5 sets when it comes to the color blend color pencils. Now there's also a Spectrum Noir color blend watercolor pencil set. Now there's only 4 in that series. So the essential sets, if you're just looking for basic colors, that's the one you want to go for. They do have a floral one. They do have like an ocean type one. They have a toned one. They have a skin tone one. Again, though, you're not going to have, you know, if you like florals, then it's perfect, but it's not going to have colors that you might be looking for. So always look at what it includes. So the Essentials does have the basics of a white, a dark gray, the greens, the blues, the purples, the reds, and the yellows. So that's why I chose this. So I'm using pistachio and sage and jade for my greens. I start with my lightest shade and I put that base down. I do not press hard. Even though it doesn't look like or feel like this paper has a tooth, it does. When you put a lot of pressure right off the bat with your colored pencils, you're filling in that tooth, meaning you're taking the bumpies out and flattening them, okay? So, and when you flatten your paper, it's not going to take much more pigment. So colored pencils, for me, I love to layer and keep layering. And again, you should, I've been known to be able to put 10 layers. But again, it's a light pressure. I'm okay with that paper coming through. I also, you know, I still hear Courtney Creeber with the Scary Darks when she talks about her alcohol markers. It's the same thing in colored pencils. So when it comes to those 3 shades of green, I'm using a twilight blue. Now that twilight blue is comparable to indigo in other sets or a set that you may have. It is almost black. You could also use black. I will use those extremes. It doesn't have to be a dark green for my greens. I will use a blue or a black to put the shadows in for my greens. The daffodils the way that I've chosen to color them are the ones that have the white tips and the centers orange. I know there's a specific name. Look, I'm not a garden person. My sister is. She has a beautiful garden, and she takes care of it, and she talks to it, and she cares for it. Me, mine starts screaming as I come near. So I pray that whatever's in there will be able to survive. It's not that I'm neglectful, you know, I just don't. It's horrible. So I can live through beautiful florals through my colored pencils. There you go. I like the way that sounds. So again, I start with my lightest color. I then come in with my midtones. Again, I can cross over. So if it's a leaf or a large petal, light tone layer first, then the midtones extending that out, then the darkest tones, and then maybe even a fourth, which is really going down and lining that in just to finish that off. Sometimes after I put the lightest down, I'll start immediately in with darkest and then pull it out with the medium. Your pencils will do their own blending, okay? So you can see how this came together. I am now taking the greens and just grounding this image, just giving it a base. Now I was going to do my outline like I normally do, but this set does not come with a very pale blue, and I'll explain that when we come back. But I always want to ground, and I put these little spikes to make it look like grass. Okay, so those are our daffodils. Now, the one thing that this set does not have is like a really pale blue, because really what I wanted to do was just put, if you've seen my previous color pencils, I like to put an outline around the image of like a pale blue, just to make that come off the sheet. So since I didn't have that, I just made sure that I grounded it, just creating, you know, a little bit of greenery down there and some spikes of grass and so forth. I mean, you don't have to do the shadow that goes around it. It's just something that I've just started doing, or I've always done. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to mat this on top of that gold panel. So I'm going to grab my liquid glue and I'm just going to put glue on the edge of this. And we'll make sure that's centered on that. So I went with a pearl gold, not a mirror gold. I didn't want to take away from the daffodils because I wanted them to be that orange, yellow, and white for their color. Sorry about that. I had to step away for a second. Now I'm going to grab my fun foam and I'm just going to take this piece. I just pull it in a little bit on the side, pull it in a little bit from the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my long shears and I'm just going to cut around the side and then cut along this edge here, the top. And now I will pull in my double-sided tape. I am a fan when I use my fun foam, or if I'm doing a watercolor panel that's warped a little bit, I am a fan of this 2mm double-sided tape. Now, I get this from Uline. I don't want to gum up those scissors. I get this from Uline. It lasts forever. And I've had this ever since I started Baker. No, this is my second one. When I first started, I had gotten 2. And I just literally started going into this. It's very strong. It straightens any watercolor panel out if you still have a little bit of the warping, which I think is great. But again, it is just what I mean that it's not forgiving. The moment it touches paper, it's there. There is no pulling it off. There's no repositioning. That's what I mean when I say it's just not forgiving. So I move very slowly as I bring it down to make sure that I am in the center. I try not to move too quick like I do with others. I then chose a gray backing behind the gold. Again, I didn't want to emphasize the I stand on my tippy toes too as I'm looking down on that, and then I have that thin frame, but I didn't want to choose a black frame because it really would have pulled out these black lines, and I wanted the black lines there, but again, not stamping it too many times. It gives me this charcoal feel, which is what I like. So that's why I went with that gray. So once I put it on the card panel, you can see, you know, you have just that hint of that gray color. Now I'm going to use my art glitter glue to set this down. And I am going to come in with some white splatter. I do want to add some white splatter. Not a snowstorm. Again, those of you that know me, you know I love... Oh, not that one. Oh, okay. Oh my. That's not good. Okay, we problem here. Problem. Where's my other one? That I found it. Have to work on that one. This one should be good. I probably just have to stir that up. Yeah, there we go. So this is my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. It is my go-to white for splatters. It does not, I mean, that's literally how much I use. I just touch the cap and just put, you know, that much in there, and then I add some water and I mix. So definitely more water ratio, because again, the more water you add, the softer it will be. I want to make sure I get all of the white out of the brush. What I love about this, I use a lot of oxides when it comes to coloring and backgrounds and everything else. And if I'm creating that snow blizzard or just a light touch of some droplets, this will not, now I'm getting it all over the place, this will not pick up the oxide color, which is awesome, because oxides will react with water. So they will, so if you use a gesso or an acrylic paint or anything like that, it will pick up the color that's underneath and it'll tint that white. So when I'm looking to do splatters, I want it to be white. So I'm really, my hand's really going to come up, and I'm just going to gently tap this and try to put them where I want them. And as I've released a lot, now I'll start bringing it down because they will be lighter because there's not as much pigment on the brush. So you can see when I was up here, I had bigger splatters. If I was down here, they would have been even bigger. So since I started up high, I didn't get that huge droplets. And I wouldn't have minded. Okay, I do like my splatters. I do like creating those. And yes, I get carried away. I call it a snowstorm because I think that's fun. So that is our card. I hope you grabbed your favorite coloring medium. Grab your favorite stamp set. Have fun with it. Enjoy. I love color pencils, but they do take time. You know, I like to say if a picture in alcohol markers takes you 30 minutes, for colored pencils, it'll take you anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. At least for me, it will. So they do take time, but I do enjoy that process. I'm able to zone out and relax. So again, I hope you did enjoy this project. Again, this is the Daffodil Paint a Flower subscription from Altenew. I do subscribe to this. Huge fan of it. All the products that I used will be linked down below, and on my blog I will have a color chart of the colors that I used from my Spectrum Noir colored pencils called Color Blends. All right, so you'll be able to see that as well. If you have any questions, please make sure you leave those down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Again, everyone, enjoy your day. Smile, laugh. It helps. Enjoy this process. Don't stress. Enjoy it. Everything you create is art, and everything you create is unique. But remember what is most important for me, no matter where you are and in what space. Always be creative, everyone. Till next time, take care.